Welcome to The World Today. I'm Waqas Majeed Khan. Today we're talking about a very important topic, very close to Pakistan's heart at the moment because it concerns terror financing and Pakistan's efforts in curbing it. We'll also talk about the mood that is taking place in Paris. The Financial Action Task Force is considering whether to put Pakistan on a list of countries that have not done enough to curb terrorism financing. We'll discuss the nitty-gritty of that process. And we'll also talk about the continued Indian aggression on the line of control, atrocities that are being committed in Kashmir by the Indian occupying forces. That will be our second topic for discussion. Let's get the conversation started. I'd like to introduce my guests in the studio. Joining me today, first of all, we have Brigadier Ihsan Shah. He's a defense analyst. And along with him, we have Salman Bhittani. He's with the Quaid-e-Azam University. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for being here. Sir, to begin with, let's start with the response from our Interior Minister, Ihsan. Sir, he has said that placing Pakistan on the watch list of countries funding terrorism would be counterproductive and hamper the joint efforts to curb terrorism. How true do you think this particular stance of Pakistan is, sir?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I support this statement, and he is right in his point of view. Because it is the time to encourage Pakistan, not to disappoint and discourage. Pakistan is fighting a war on terror. Pakistan is fighting a proxy war on eastern border. Pakistan is fighting another proxy war on western border also. And the region, Afghanistan, India, Israel, and then they are supported by US Indo-Israel Afghan policy, I will call it. They are surrounding Pakistan and encircling Pakistan. And all these things are mitigating the efforts put up by Pakistan in war against terror. Pakistan has done so much sacrifices. $123 billion sacrificed Pakistan economically. They have borne it. Pakistan has given more than 70,000 shuhadas and lives, including army and civil both. Pakistan demographic situation has almost changed, particularly in FATA and North Frontier Province in Balochistan. There are terrorist organizations in Afghanistan at the moment, and Pakistan is fighting a full spectrum war in Balochistan against the militants. Pakistan is fighting a war on the eastern border, on LOC against India. And in this situation, Pakistan is affording 2.5 million refugees from Afghanistan. Pakistan is giving, in spite of all the US sanctions, Pakistan has not stopped their land routes. Pakistan has not denied their air spaces. Pakistan has not withheld all-out support to all international organizations in intelligence sharing also, in giving their full support economically, sociologically, politically, on every front.
Absolutely.
And in spite of this, Pakistan is being guarded in Paris today, and they are discussed in under a theme that is discouraging the efforts and zeroing all the sacrifices given by Pakistan so far. These are counterproductive, and Pakistan, if you want to pressurize Pakistan through these tactics, it will bounce back. It is the time to encourage, to assist, to help. We are not asking your aid, but at least we are not your enemy. We have been partners and ally in this war on terror since 2001, post-Afghan jihad particularly. But in jihad we were with you. We all should again be united to defeat and fight this courage and malice.
Well, sir, I don't think it could have been put any better way than the way you just put it. Unfortunately, sir, this is not being accepted by the larger community outside. The world community is, as you know, and you have mentioned that they are still discussing whether to put Pakistan on that list or not. In your opinion, Salman, what brought things to this pass? Why is it that although Pakistan was on that list from 2009 to 2015, it was taken off the list, and now again we are being reconsidered to be put back on the list? How does that make sense?
Actually, I think this shows the narrow-minded approach that has been adopted by particularly the Trump administration and the other associates who have got vested interest in South Asia, particularly in this region and Afghan conflict. Because as we were discussing earlier as well, that it is in whose interest that Afghanistan would be unstable. Is it in Pakistan's interests that does it support Pakistan's interest that Afghan is unstable, or are there any other actors? So those other actors, due to their soft power projection, due to their lobbying, due to their impact of their diaspora in these countries, they have created a perception, an image by which they think that if Pakistan would be pressurized by these tactics or these ways, they could come up with some of the favorable policy options, policy strategies. The fact of the matter is, I totally agree with Brigadier Saab that if you want to corner Pakistan at this moment of time, at this juncture, that is very critical, because we are into the final phase of battle. As our foreign minister the other day told that think tank, that we have defeated Jamaatul Ahrar, we have defeated Al-Qaeda. Nobody on the earth can deny the fact that Al-Qaeda is solely defeated by the efforts of Pakistan. And we have trying tooth and nail to defeat Tehreek-e-Taliban as well. And we have been successful, because Tehreek-e-Taliban was operating in Swat few years back. Now they are operating from the other side of the border. The whole world know it. And the last few drone attacks have also proved the fact that the drone attacks were carried out inside Afghanistan. And some of the top tier leadership was targeted. So at this juncture, opting for going for these policies, these strategies would discourage Pakistan, would disappoint Pakistan, and furthermore it would aggravate the situation where, as we were listening to Khwaja Asif in the break, that the menace of terrorism and their new facets, the new organizations in town, they are making headways, they are creating their bases, they are getting strengthened. And former president of Afghanistan has been saying nasty things about Daesh. He has been saying some things which I think they should be debated, because Hamid Karzai is not an ordinary person, he is not an ordinary academic or journalist. He has been the president, he has been at the helm of affairs. If he is saying that there is some problem, there are some grey areas as far as the establishment of Daesh is concerned, because as a matter of fact, if you think about Daesh and if you think about its existence, then it doesn't make sense. Daesh has no ideological support in this region. Daesh has no support from the Pashtun population, and it has got no political ends in Afghanistan. And suddenly, when Daesh got defeated in Syria, how is it possible that they jumped all the world and came to the backyard of Afghanistan? I mean, they could have gone to any other place. They could have gone to any other destination. They could have continued their struggle or whatever it was in Syria. But suddenly we see that there is this shift. Daesh got defeated in Syria, and they are surging up here in Afghanistan. And a surprise is that United States of America, Afghanistan, even India, they are not paying any kind of attention. They are not surprised by this element. So if there are some other game plays which are going on in this region, if there is another facet to politics in the region, and that is related to China and Russia as well, then obviously Pakistan always had worked in consonance with what world has aspired, because in 2001 too we didn't knew what's going on, and the world was like, we are fighting a war against terror and we need your assistance, and we provided that assistance. We were like, yes, we will fight the war of the world. Now at the same time, everybody knows that every state has the right to protect its interests. Every state had the right to protect its security, political, economic interest. If anything would go against the security, political, economic interests of Pakistan, Pakistan would go for alternative routes, alternative strategies, alternative policies.
Well, it's very interesting that you brought Daesh up into the conversation, and that's a completely different subject. When the question really here is that why is it that India's lies is accepted readily among the capitals of the world and Pakistan's truth is not? Why are we struggling to convince the world that we're telling the truth when we talk about eliminating terrorist sanctuaries from our soil and not letting Pakistan's soil being used against any other country? It's not accepted.
I think lately,
this is the problem, sir. Is there something wrong in our communication? What
Yes.
is the real problem here?
Definitely there is something wrong with our communication, because lately we have been advocating our case, particularly when we have been pushed. This is the problem with Pakistani state, because whenever we come across such an issue, then we are kind of bringing up things, because the kind of efforts that we have put in after January 1's tweet.
So you're saying
should
that our
have been
national character is more driven towards a knee-jerk reaction than actually
Yes.
planning for the future and taking the steps that are required when the time is right. And we keep procrastinating as a whole nation. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying, because you see those efforts that we have made in the aftermath of January 1 tweet or the aftermath of August 21, 2017 speech, we should have been making all those efforts in the normal time. You can say that since we have been too much occupied with dealing with the terrorists, we have been hit by them, but still at various levels, we should have been projecting our case. We should have been advertising our case that, look, this is what we are doing. This is what we have done. This is what we have achieved so far.
I would further elaborate on his point.
Please, sir.
That yes, the point which you brought out, that Pakistan's is reactive, not proactive. I would certainly agree with this. You see, if you remember, the International Review Financial Group, IRCG, they proposed in their conference in Argentina in November 2017
Right, sir.
that Pakistan should be put on a watch list. Pakistan's finances should be scrutinized in relation particularly with Jamaat-ul-Dawa, Lashkar-e-Tayyiba and other organizations, Jaish-e-Mohammed.
Jamaat-ul-Dawa.
And you know, these were the indicators where Pakistan should have come out. They should have sent their emissaries, their ambassadors. They should have gone to international organizations. They should have consulted Gulf Cooperation Councils. They should have gone to the major capitals of the world and should have presented their case that you are scrutinizing a wrong case. Pakistan is fighting a war on their side. Pakistan has done so much sacrifices. Come, see, and then you will realize that how much Pakistan is doing. That has not been done. Pakistan had no foreign minister for a very long time,
Right,
more
sir.
than 4 years. How Pakistan could present their case? Now, when this thing that there is a group, financial action, task action group, financial group, now from 18 to 23 the conference is in progress and they will propose these sanctions against Pakistan. It is not, and they cannot implement it, but they can advise and propose.
Of course.
But it will tarnish the image of Pakistan, certainly. You cannot say that it will bounce back. Yes, in reaction it can, but so far the image, we are living in a globalized world. It is a globalized economy. You cannot alienate yourself. You cannot isolate in yourself. So how to counter, or how these things should have been countered, these negative fallout should have been countered. Pakistan's people, the people who are at the helm of affairs, the policy makers, the thinkers, all those research analysts, they should have sit down. They should have they brought everything together on one table and should have thrashed out the fallouts if these things happen. It did not take place. Now who is wrong? I think the international communities have been alarming you. They have been telling you. Their indicators were clear. And when the indicators were clear, the threat is now imminent. Pakistan did not do anything at the right time. This is what he is saying. And I will verify and I will agree with you that Pakistan's approach is more reactive than proactive.
Well, unfortunately, how's that going to change, sir? Our Interior Minister said that the move that is being pondered upon in Paris would hurt Pakistan's capability of fighting terrorism, and questioned whose interests would be served by putting Pakistan on that watch list.
I totally agree with you that it will hurt the efforts of Pakistan. Number one, who are participating? More than 700 delegates from all over the world are participating in this conference.
Right, sir.
And the major international donors, World Bank, International Monetary Fund,
They're all there as well.
the international bank agencies,
Right, sir.
consortiums, all of the United Nations agencies, donor agencies, they are sitting in that conference. And if at all this, and it is the first time that against any country 4 major countries are proposing a resolution. They are proposing that Pakistan should be brought under this watch list. It has never happened before that so many countries have come together.
Well, it was initiated by the US and Britain, sir,
Yes.
who were supposed to be our friends and allies, and then
Yes.
it was they later convinced Germany and France to
Germany.
join them.
Now again, I will move forward that if it is adopted, the resolution is adopted, what the impact will be.
Absolutely, sir.
The impact will be that it will tarnish the image of Pakistan internationally.
Also economically damage us.
That yes, it will compel the international donor agencies to scrutinize our funds and then see for what they want to then translate and tell the world what we are doing, because
It will make life difficult for Pakistan.
Yeah, for Pakistan
in every way.
And the third thing is that those people who are investing in Pakistan, they will become hesitant. They will not come at an open arms and meet you and invest in Pakistan. And the fourth thing is it will give a big boost to the propaganda agencies against our borders, across the border,
Absolutely.
in Afghanistan and India, that yes, we were telling you that Pakistan was doing this, but you were not agreeing with us. Now you have seen Pakistan is the type of country which we want to show you, but you are not seeing it. So all these things will be negative images against Pakistan. Pakistan will be affected badly on this, economically also, image wise also, internationally also, and your fighting capabilities will also be affected.
And not to mention the morale of the entire Pakistani nation, which will also be damaged, sir. And that is also a significant issue, because our forces that are fighting terrorists will be demoralized when they see that the international community is not supporting Pakistan at all.
You have a big diaspora abroad, and all of them will be meeting with foreigners, and what face they will be showing to them, that we are telling you that Pakistan is doing this, and now Pakistan, it may be wrong, everything, because they are seeing all these things through the lenses of India and Afghanistan.
That's right.
I must tell you, and those lenses,
it's very unfortunate, sir. They will only paint Pakistan in a negative light,
those lenses are not crystals, they are not clear.
Not at all, sir. Let's also talk about the role that China, Russia, Turkey and the GCC countries can play in trying to avert Pakistan being put on that list. Salman, do you think that we can count on some of our friends and allies to bring it to the notice of the general wider world that what they perceive Pakistan to be is not the case, and that Pakistan is genuinely fighting this war and needs all the help and support it can get, rather than be denigrated for supporting the international war against terror?
Definitely, I believe that we are not relying, we are actually kind of dependent on the neutral opinion of those countries. Not only that they are our allies, or not only that we are doing business with them, but it is a test case for our relationship as well, that wherever there is something going against Pakistan which is not in the interest of Pakistan and the region, they should curb such developments. And since China is a strong country, Russia is a strong country, Turkey has a very important role to play in the region, because Turkey is part of Europe. So definitely their say, their analysis, their opinion would influence whatever the mood is going on. And definitely Pakistan is looking forward to these powers, because we have been working with them very closely. I mean, if you take the example of Pak-China relations, if you take the example of Pak-Turkey relations, they know us very well, we know them very well. And then with some GCC countries, some of them are really important, we have been working in close alliance with them. So if they would not raise their voice in our favor, that would also put some question marks on their character or on their mode of relationship, because you see, if when it comes to their peculiar interest, they take a stand. But if their peculiar interests are not subjected to question, they are not questioned, then they are not taking stand. I mean, their stance is very important, and it's also a moment of learning for Pakistan as well, that look how diplomacy works and how states protect their interests.
That's an interesting thing that you just said, that it is a chance for Pakistan to learn as well. But has Pakistan learned anything in the 70 years of our existence? Let's talk about what happened in 65, what happened in 71, what happened after any number of debacles that Pakistan had to face on its own. Where were our allies then?
Definitely, I think
what have we learned in our
better
70
late
years?
than never. Whenever you learn a lesson, and I think Pakistan has been nature, God Almighty has given you many instances in history to learn a lesson. So if we would not learn a lesson, then we would be facing these kind of issues.
And what specific lessons are you talking about? What are the, if you could just spell it out for us, what is the lesson that we should first of all learn?
If I put it into 1, 2, 3, then the first and foremost thing is our own national interest, our own interest, that should be put at the top. Our foreign policy should not be dictated or should not be influenced by any foreign country and their interests. It should be in line. In past, we have entered into such agreements and such treaties and such alliances where we have compromised over our interest or our preferences. Either we should come up with an equation which is in the interest of both, or we should not come up with an equation where we have to bow down or we have to compromise over anything. For example, just quoting one example, in immediately after post 9/11, when we were asked to join this alliance, I think we put Kashmir on the back burner, and we took some steps which kind of for some years it was observed, it was analyzed that the state of Pakistan is kind of too much involved into war against terror, and it has got leniency over the other issues. We should have put this straight into the equation that, look, if we are fighting your war, we have some issues in the region as well, and help us resolve those issues. And resolve according to international law, resolve according to the UN principles, resolve according to the bilateral consensus. We are not asking for something which is a very one-sided solution. I think we should have put these things on the table. It should have not only been financial support or technical support. In international politics, whenever you go into an agreement or an alliance, you have to be very selfish. You have to be very clear. You cannot go by rhetorics. You cannot go by any historical kind of civilization.
And you have to be practical. The approach has to be
very practical.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Salman, there. And I'm glad that you mentioned Kashmir, because that will just lead us into our second topic, which is very important, sir. Again, an 8-year-old child, sir, was killed as a result of Indian firing across the LOC. If you just look at this year, this is the middle of February, 335 violations, sir, have taken place by India on the line of control. They have killed 15 civilians and injured 65 people in just 1.5 months. So why is the rest of the world not acknowledging what Pakistan is talking about time and time again? The Indians refuse to let military observers from the United Nations to come into that area. We have military observers who are observing the constant barrage of mortar shells across the line of control from India. They are trying to push us against the wall so that Pakistan takes some strong reaction. Where are we headed, sir? Why is the international community hell-bent on pressurizing Pakistan and not seeing Pakistan's positive contribution?
I think states are governed by their self-interests. There is no morality. In real politics, there is no morality.
But unfortunately, sir, if that were true for Pakistan, then we wouldn't be where we are today, because we have clearly not worked for our self-interest.
Yes.
If we had, we wouldn't be here today.
Yes, there is a conflict of interest, but I would certainly go with this, that India is doing so much, and world is not hearing that. World is not listening to that. World is not listening to the moans and cries by these childs who are being killed by the atrocities of India from across the border.
Even today, there was a huge protest in Srinagar, sir.
Yes.
By the pellet guns.
Yes.
Victims.
The pellet guns, indications, the examples, everything is there. People are being killed. The atrocities are being unleashed, and world is going, and world is giving a deaf ear and blind eyes to them. Why? I would ask why. And now I will answer this why. Because India is a large economy. India is a large industry. India is a big population. India is occupying a big area on the world face. So these are some of the economic interest and political interest which the world community is not ignoring. Pakistan, in their case, in comparison is a small country with a meager economy, with a small economy, with a small industrial and agriculture base, with a less population. So, all these things are governing the interest between the states. Now, coming to another point, why India is doing it? This is a big question. In last year, around 2000 incidents took place on the line of control. Exactly, it was 1983.
Right.
Now, this year you have mentioned the exact figure.
300.
It is more than 300.
Yes, sir.
Now, why India has escalated the ladder? That question should be asked. They know, their policy makers, their observers, their international representatives know that Pakistan is being cornered internationally on the theme of terrorism. And in this theme of terrorism, they are presenting their case that Pakistan is sending their terrorists inside Kashmir. This Kashmir fight and war is not from inside the Kashmir. It is being funded from Pakistan. It is financed by Pakistan. People are being sent by Pakistan, and there is an imposed war. It is not a war for freedom. It is not a Tehreek-e-Azadi. So that is now what they are doing. They are bombarding your post, portraying to the world that since terrorists are crossing and we are bombarding them. It is a bogey. It is giving another name to this Tehreek-e-Azadi by them to the world. This is number one. The second military and tactical aim is that since Pakistan is fighting a war on terror, we are engaged on western border also, and some of the forces are engaged in law enforcement inside Pakistan also. So they want to keep your forces permanently tied down to that border, so that ratio to against these events should be less, and Pakistan's diversion should be not towards one side, it should be bifurcated. Rather, it should be on much more fronts. This is number two. And the third thing is they want to demoralize the Pakistani nations, that you are being compelled to fight on 2 or 3 fronts war. So these are some of the designs, but the realities have shown India is living in a fool's paradise. Population of Kashmir is more than 90 countries in the world who are independent, and the size of Kashmir is more than 68 countries of the world which are independent, and the Kashmiris have given so much sacrifices. They are fighting this war for 70 years. So much blood has gone. They cannot deny it. They cannot refuse it. One day will come when they have to surrender and give this freedom to the people of Kashmir.
Well, sir, God willing, I hope, inshallah, that will come.
Inshallah.
And the day will come. And unfortunately, until that day comes, we see that, as you have mentioned and very clearly explained, that what the reasons are for the Western world and the larger world community not listening to the hapless Kashmiris because of their vested interests with India. But that is one side of the story. So the other side is the humanitarian aspect. The constant, the tragic state in which Kashmiris are forced to live under the Indian occupation and under the draconian laws, sir, it's impossible. Secondly, the Indian border along the LOC has been heavily fenced by the Indians. There is hardly any possibility of cross-border movement. Pakistan has been talking about that recently as well, sir, and still they blame Pakistan. How is that possible? It's the most militarized border in the world. They have all kinds of technology surveillance that they're looking at, preventing people from entering into their area. But the rest of the world just seems blind to that as well.
They are giving a wrong case. They are presenting a wrong case.
But the
Pakistan
thing is that
is asking them.
the policy that India is pursuing is succeeding. That's what we are witnessing.
They are succeeding because of those interests of the world in them, which I have highlighted in the beginning of my talk, that they have more size. Now Trump is looking to India because they want to bring India as a counterweight to China. And China has invested more than $60 billion inside Pakistan. Now that China is now establishing a road link, a railway link, more than 60 countries in the world. They are coming out. They are emerging economy. And America is worried because of them. America is worried because of Russia also, because of their old wars. the Cold War, and because of their defeat in Vietnam and Afghanistan, Russia might come back anytime. China is coming back, they are emerging, and Iran is also against them. In the region, there are the chain of countries who are not allied to America. What they are saying, America is using and coercing them to fight against this and to toe the line which Americans, Indian and Afghan government, not the Afghan people. Let me tell you, the Afghan government, Ashraf Ghani and Karzai type of people, Abdullah type of people, they are towing the line because they were educated, they got education inside India, they got money from India, they were trained in India, so they are towing their line with India. And what India is doing, Pakistan is interested in a stable Afghanistan. Stable Afghanistan is much more in the interest of Pakistan than any other country in the world. But a destabilized Afghanistan is in the interest of India because they are fighting a proxy war in a destabilized zone. They are funding terrorists in Balochistan also. They are funding your people who are in, they went from Swat in these areas and Fatah, and now they are sitting in Kunal, and they are sending their people, they are planning them, they are executing them, they are implementing them, they are financing them, and they are creating this mess inside Pakistan to tell the world that Pakistan is an unstable country. So that Pakistan should be presented as such, so that economically we should shrink. The donors should not come. Those people who are investing inside Pakistan, they should not come. The tourism should not come. And inside, the psyche of Pakistani should be paralyzed. And there should be a mayhem. There should be a chaos inside the country where international community should come together and say that atomic assets in Pakistan are not in the safe hand. These are some of the interests.
Absolutely, sir. Salman, would you like to share your views on this?
Definitely, since Brigadier Saab has very in detail analyzed, I would just talk about one facet of Indian political system these days and Indian domestic politics. There is an angle to it as well, because as I have been in earlier programs talking about the same aspect, that Modi's politics and Modi's Hindutva has this kind of a face of a punisher of Pakistan, and he kind of used this as an electioneering slogan. And then that's why I've been predicting this thing, that the election year would be more tough for Pakistan, because they would be surging these cross-border violations, and you see in just 2 months there are 300 plus violations. So he also, along with some of the media outlets that he has purchased, they create this kind of scenario that there is some sort of war going on.
Let me ask you, what's the end game? What do they hope to achieve by doing all these activities against Pakistan? What's the end game for them?
Since doing anything against Pakistan or creating troubles for Pakistan is seen as a foreign policy success in India, so he would be securing his next election by doing so. Then there is another aspect for which we need a detailed program, how they are justifying, how they are rationalizing the military industrial complex that is being created in India for the last almost a decade, for the last 10 years. The kind of investment that is going on inside India related to defense industry, there needs to be a justification, and the only popular justification in this point of time is this enemy image of Pakistan. That's why you see they would not even allow cricket, they would not even allow our singers. I mean, tactically on borders when something is going on, that's a different facet of conflict. But stopping people-to-people contact, and just recently, I think last week or 2 weeks back, they stopped Hindu yatris, and they are not comfortable with Sikh yatris coming to Pakistan, who are treated with honor and respect in Pakistan whenever they come. So this shows that there is this holistic strategy going on in India, and they have also kind of brought their military on this page as well, because now military is also getting some importance. Since their military was not getting the kind of importance they wanted, now their military chief off and on would come up with some statements which has got a popular influence for Indian public opinion.
Well, thank you very much for taking out the time and sharing your views with PTV World. Thank you. Well, you heard the conversation, and in conclusion, we'd like to say that the rest of the world needs to take cognizance of the fact that Pakistan has been the frontline state in the war on terror, and we need the world's help and support in fighting this war, not to make our lives more difficult than they already are. On that hope and on that note, it's goodbye.